The famous Mayan pyramids of Chichen Itza are over 1,500 years old and exhibit a multitude of architectural styles, from Mexicanized to the Puc style found among the Puc Maya of the northern lowlands. Dominating the center of Chichen is the Temple of Kukulkán. Great sculptures of plumed serpents run down the sides of the northern staircase and are set off by shadows from the corner tiers on the spring and fall equinox. El Castillo is where both theology and astronomy combine to produce a unique spectacle twice a year, the spring equinox and the autumn solstice. This pyramid is the dominant building in the northern sector of the ancient city. Kukulkán's pyramid is essentially a 9-step structure, culminating in a flat platform that supports a 2-story temple. The height to the top platform is 24 meters, the temple adding another 6 meters. The size and symmetry of this pyramid lend it an imposing aspect despite its austere decoration. El Castillo's design is thought to relate to the Mayan calendar. Each of the 4 faces incorporates a broad, steep staircase consisting of 91 steps that ascends to the top platform. Counting the top platform as an additional step gives a total of 365 steps. The name Chichen Itza is derived from the Mayan language, Chi, mouth, Chen, well, and Itza, the tribe that inhabited the area. Chichen Itza was a major economic power in the northern Maya lowlands during its apogee. The site was developed between the 6th and 14th centuries. The early inhabitants were the Itza, a Maya group. The archaeological site is divided into 3 areas: the northern group Toltec, the central group, and the southern area known as the Old Chichen. Chichen Itza is home to no less than 9 ball courts, which hosted the famous Mayan ball game. The largest one, the Juego de Pelota, is northwest of El Castillo. It's the largest and best preserved ball court in the Mayan world. The game had important ritual aspects, and major formal ball games were held as ritual events, often featuring human sacrifice. The ball court at Chichen Itza shows the sacrifice of practiced ball players, perhaps the captains of the losing team. Decapitation is particularly associated with the ball game. The theme of solar movement is tied to fertility, and the bouncing ball is thought to have represented the sun, and the sacrifice of the ball player represented the death of the sun, which would then be reborn. Both walls are carved with scenes showing Maya figures, dressed as ball players and decked out in heavy protective padding. There's also a headless ball player kneeling, with blood shooting from his neck, while another player holding the head looks on. Two stone scoring rings, decorated with serpents, are found on opposite walls of the ball field. The rules of the ball game, regardless of the version, are not known in any detail. In modern-day Ulama, the game resembles a netless volleyball, with each team confined to one half of the court. In the most widespread version of ulama, the ball is hit back and forth using the hips alone until one team fails to return it or the ball leaves the court. Each end has a raised temple area. It's not hard to imagine a Mayan king sitting here presiding over the games. A whisper from one end can be heard clearly at the other end through the length and breadth of the court. The sound waves are unaffected by wind direction. The lower temple of the jaguar was associated with the themes of creation, the foundation of the city, and the right to perform warfare. The upper temple of the jaguar, which stood above the lower temple and opened onto the playing alley, contained a series of murals recording the wars of conquest that established Chichen Itza's power and right to rule within the region. The scenes depict battle preparations and warriors engaged in fighting. Between the columns, flanking the entrance to the temple, sat a jaguar throne. Inside, the temple contained an elaborate polychromed mural, whose registers were formed by the undulating bodies of twisted serpents, marking the scene as a supernatural place of creation. The murals also chronicle a battle in a Mayan village. The platform of skulls, a T-shaped stone structure, 60 meters long and 12 meters wide, was dedicated to the glory of military conquest and ritual sacrifice. Its name derives from the rows of skulls carved into the stone platform, which represent the heads of sacrificial victims. When the victim's head was cut off, it was impaled on a pole and displayed in a tidy row with others. Also carved into the stone are pictures of eagles tearing hearts from human victims. The word Zompantli isn't Mayan, but comes from central Mexico. The platform walls of the Zompantli have carved reliefs of 4 different subjects. The primary subject is the skull rack itself. Others show a scene with a human sacrifice, eagles eating human hearts, and skeletonized warriors with shields and arrows. The wall of skulls is called the Zompantli, which is actually an Aztec name for this kind of structure, because the first one seen by the horrified Spanish was at the Aztec capital city of Tenochtitlan. The Zompantli structure at Chichen Itza is a Toltec structure, where the heads of sacrificial victims were placed. Although it was one of 3 platforms in the Great Plaza, it was, according to Bishop Lander, the only one for this purpose. The others were for farces and comedies, showing the Itzas were all about fun. The stone platform of the eagles and jaguar was probably a military structure on which homage was paid to the orders of the Knights of the Eagles and Jaguars, who were believed to have been an elite fighting force. The elaborately carved platform is located on the central plain between the platform of skulls and the Temple of Venus. The pedestals that top the platform are crowned with serpent heads, over which it's believed there had been standard bearers in the form of jaguars. Here, we see a warrior on the platform of eagles and jaguars. The figures of eagles and jaguars devouring hearts are said to represent the warriors who were responsible for obtaining victims for sacrifice to the gods. The eagle knights were archers who attacked the enemy before other soldiers fought hand to hand. The aggressive eagles, sculpted on the walls of the platform, are the symbol of this elite group of archers who stood out on the battlefield because they wore clothing made of feathers from the bird after which they were named. The Jaguar Knights were believed to be the fiercest members of the army, modelled after those found elsewhere in central Mexico. They fought hand to hand with wooden clubs tipped with knives of obsidian. They covered themselves with armour made of jaguar skins and helmets of jaguar heads. The figures of jaguars represented the soldiers, who were often charged with obtaining prisoners for sacrifice to the city's gods. The architectural characteristics of Chichen Itza have a direct relationship with the Mayan Toltec style. All of its buildings have the same decoration motifs found in Tula. The most frequent representations are warriors and Quetzalcoatl. The cult of the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl in Tula and Kukulkán in Mayan, was very important. The platform of the eagles and jaguars has intricate carvings on all sides, consisting of representations of two of the icons worshipped by the Maya after the Toltecs asserted their influence, the eagle and the jaguar. The carvings show both animals clutching human hearts in their claws, which prompted an earlier name for the sculpture, Temple of the Sacrifices. The platform of Venus, more than 25 meters on each side, is also known as the tomb of Chacmool. The Temple of the Warriors, 10 meters high and over 40 meters wide, is a good example of the Toltec influence on Mayan architecture. The Templo de los Guerreros was named after the sculpture of warriors on the pillars of the front and supporting columns. There are some 200 square columns at the base of the temple's main stairway. These columns were once painted, and some of the pigment is still faintly visible today. There are also several rows of columns that fill the colonnades on the south of the temple, prompting the name Plaza of 1,000 Columns. At one time, the columns supported what was believed to be a thatched roof. The exterior wall is adorned with stone carvings of Kukulkán emerging from the mouth of a serpent. Before getting to the stairway, one passes in front of a low platform where there are a multitude of pillars forming part of the group called the 1,000 Columns. On top of the flattened pyramid structure is a reclining feathered rattlesnake column, standing in front of the main temple altar. This building is reached by climbing a stairway on the western side of the entire structure. The roof is sustained by a series of pillars, decorated with figures representing Mayan beliefs. On top of the flattened pyramid structure is a reclining life-size Chacmool sculpture, which held offerings. This monument is almost an exact reproduction of one in Tula, the ancient capital of the Toltecs. The square columns are carved in low relief with Toltec warriors. In some places, they're cemented together in sections, covered with plaster and painted in brilliant colors. South of the temple was a square building that archaeologists call El Mercado, the market. A colonnade surrounds its central court. Beyond the temple and the market, in the jungle, are mounds of rubble, parts of which are being reconstructed. The interior gallery space is open and not partitioned, and a large patio lies in front of the only entrance, accessed by a broad stairway. There were 3 hearths and grinding stones found in this structure, which scholars normally interpret as evidence of domestic activities. But because the building offers no privacy, scholars believe it most likely had a ceremonial function. The market, or mercado, was named by the Spanish, but its precise function is under debate by scholars. It's a large colonnaded building with a spacious interior court. After visiting the Senate, many visitors head back towards the group of the 1,000 columns, the complex which incorporates the Temple of the Warriors and a series of columns, some of which feature carvings of Toltec warriors. It's believed that the columns originally supported a thatched roof, which may have been used as a marketplace. The market had a platform measuring 80 meters long and 15 meters wide, formed by a central staircase with currents, and a row of columns alternating from round pillars and supporting the roof. There was a door leading to an interior floor of 17 square meters per side, and surrounded by columns of the highest level. Mayan architecture is a fascinating subject. The Maya built many ornate temples of great height. They put vaulted hollows inside the roof sections to reduce weight. The structures contained many chambers and rooms. The temple room at the top was also modular in design, with the wall thickness determining the size of doorways, location of columns, thickness of columns, and the width and length of the structure. This square structure anchors the southern end of the Temple of Warriors complex. Its name derives from the stone shelf that surrounds a large gallery and patio that early explorers theorized was used to display goods, as in a marketplace. East of the major Chichen Itza ruins is a dark underground world the Mayans call cenote. They're deep water-filled sinkholes, formed by water percolating through the soft limestone above. Since the porous soil held little water, these underground bodies were extremely important to the city. Once eyes get used to the light level, a bizarre world takes shape. Stalactites of blood-red limestone seem to ooze from the dripping walls. This unique building has 3 parts: a waiting gallery, a water bath, and a steam chamber that operated by means of heated stones. The platform of the tomb is a small round structure that's unnamed. According to the investigation undertaken in the zone, the platform of the tombs was built in one single period, not having identified constructions prior to it. The second tomb is the most elaborate one of the 2 it contains, with its threshold showing a couple of solid jambs and a stone lintel standing out. The name of the Temple of the Carved Panels comes from the reliefs carved on the north and south walls of the colonnade, depicting scenes of numerous people, plants and animals, both real and imaginary, which are dominated by 2 warriors. The building is made up of a temple erected on a slab foundation with a colonnade in front of it. This pyramid is called the ossuary, and there are 4 sets of steps with large serpents' heads resting on the floor of the pyramid. Atop the pyramid, there's a high temple decorated with chalk masks on its walls. There are pillars with masks of the rain god found at the base of the pyramid. This structure covers a deep cavern which leads to another urban center outside Chichen Itza. Several tombs with rich offerings of precious stones and copper have been found inside the shaft. The wealth of the objects found inside one of the tombs led its discoverer, Edward Thompson, to believe that this was the tomb of a great Mayan priest. The building itself shows combined Toltec and Pute characteristics and is definitely reminiscent of El Castillo. The high priest's grave includes a pyramid of about 10 meters high, with 4 stairways on each side, with a sanctuary in the center and a gallery with a portico in the front. The sides of the stairways are decorated with interlaced feathered serpents. Pillars associated with this building are in the form of the Toltec feathered serpent and human figures. There's a temple on top, but unlike El Castillo, at the center is an opening into the pyramid, which leads to a natural cave 12 meters below. The pillar was made up of 4 stone masks. It was believed that they represented the 4 different forms of the rain god. The people of Chichen Itza believed that all but one of the gods each have 4 forms: birds, snakes, jaguars, and so on. The supreme god is the unseen god and has no physical representation. This is a pyramid with 9 bodies in each of the 4 sides. It has a staircase decorated with currents, worked with intertwined snakes, leading to the top temple. The name of this building, situated upon a high platform, the red house or Chichen Cob, is derived from the fragments of red paint that were found in its interior. The facade is smooth, and there are two roof cones, which bring to mind the late Puuc style of the terminal classic period. The structure is comprised of an antechamber and 3 rooms, and has a sculpted hieroglyphic inscription in the main chamber. The building must have had a religious and public use, since there's a ball court joined to its eastern side, with bas-reliefs in the Maya Toltec style. El Caracol is known as the observatory, due to its shape and some possible astral associations. It features astronomical events concerning the planet Venus and the setting of the sun. The name Caracol, which means conch, comes from the spiral stairs that lead to the upper part of the building. It was explored between 1923 and 1931 by the Carnegie Institute, which detected a series of 6 superimposed constructions. Its construction is dated between the Terminal Classic and the early Post-Classic periods. The first structure was probably built here during the transition period of the late 9th century, and consisted of a large rectangular platform with a stairway on its west side. A round tower of about 48 feet high was built atop the platform, with a solid lower body, a central portion, a spiral staircase, and an observation chamber on the top. The round, concentrically vaulted caracol was built and rebuilt several times during its use, in part, scholars believe, to calibrate the astronomical observations. It has a diameter of 60 meters with a depth of 12 meters. The Maya were extraordinarily good astronomers, making observations and recording the motion of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Without telescopes, using observations made with the naked eye and measurements with cast shadowing and other rudimentary devices, Mayan astronomers watched the heavens as patterns in the sky. From these windows, Mayan astronomers noted the positions of the sun, the moon's greatest northern and southern declinations, and the passages of Venus. They used the shadows inside the room, cast from the angle of the sun hitting the doorway, for example, to tell when the solstices would occur. For the Maya, the planet Venus was very important. Mayan astronomers watched Venus and recorded its transit across the sky. The Dresden Codex contains tables and astronomical data of the full cycle of Venus. The Maya counted 5 sets of 584 days, or 5 repetitions of the Venus cycle. This corresponds to 2,920 days, or approximately 8 years. The tabulation of the appearances of Venus was used to predict the future. There's no astronomy without mathematics, and Mayan mathematics is the most sophisticated mathematical system ever developed in the pre-Columbian Americas. The ancient Mayas discovered two fundamental ideas in mathematics: place notation and zero. That the Mayas understood the concept and value of zero is extraordinary and astonishing, for at that time, most of the world's civilizations had no concept of zero. One of the most important architectural complexes in Chichen Itza is around the home of the monarch. The main facade of the complex is oriented north and consists of three buildings: the monarch of the annex on the east and another one on the southeast. All three were constructed at different times. The monarch construction was installed above a basement that's not visible today. The building measures 10 meters in height, with a central staircase in the north, leading to the top of the temple. The older part of the city of Chichen Itza has many fine examples of the richly decorated Puk architectural style. The church is one of the most outstanding examples of Puk ornamentation, with elaborately carved masks of Chark, the Mayan rain god, covering the front of the structure. The outside wall is completely covered with veneer decorations, which extend up to the roof comb. The frieze is bounded at ground level by a stepped fret motif and above by a serpent. The stepped fret motif is repeated on the bottom of the roof comb. The most important motif of the decoration is the Chark god mask. Above these carvings is an image of the moving snake and a roof with even more big-nosed masks of the rain god. Chark, the god of rain, was the guardian of the Maya groups who lived on the Yucatán Peninsula from around 600 AD. A giver of water, Chark became the core of a civilization that depended on agriculture for its existence. From the beginning, the engraving of the masks evolved gradually in other parts of the Yucatán, to the elaborate work on the monuments at Chichen Itza. The annex of the nunnery was part of a larger palace complex, which was built in the elaborately carved Puk architectural style, found in the older part of Chichen Itza. This building is in the Chenes style, which is a local Yucatán style. It has a lattice motif on the roof comb, complete with Chark masks, but it also includes an undulating serpent running along its cornice. The decoration begins at the base and goes up to the cornice, with the facade completely covered with several rain god masks. The rest of the facade is covered with frontal masks of Chark. Higher up is a seated monarch, wearing an elaborate feather headdress. The curved appendages sticking out from the corners are noses of the Mayan rain god Chark, whose masks are ubiquitous on late classic buildings in the Puk hill zone of northern Yucatán. The architectural styles of these structures have their origins in the Chelnas and Puc areas, where the facades were decorated with mosaics and worked panels. The Maya hieroglyphic writing is arguably one of the most visually striking writing systems in the world. It's also very complex, with hundreds of unique signs or glyphs in the form of humans, animals, supernaturals, objects, and abstract designs. These signs are either logograms or syllabograms, and are used to write words, phrases, and sentences. This construction is part of the Monarch complex. It's 50 meters long and 23 meters high. The site contains many fine stone buildings in various states of preservation, and many have been restored. The buildings are connected by a dense network of formerly paved roads called sakbeob. Archaeologists have found almost 100 sakbeob crisscrossing the site and extending in all directions from the city. Chichen Itza is the largest of the ruined Mayan cities on the Yucatán Peninsula and one of Mexico's most visited tourist destinations. At the entrance to Chichen Itza, there are a few gift shops and vendor stands. Mexico is a country which is rich in handcrafts, offering top-quality goods made of the finest in natural products, fashioned by craftspeople who have the skills of Indian designers and who still use old techniques. Selecting handmade products of glass, precious and semi-precious metals, leather, pottery or fabric, it's possible to find unique products. The market offers not only the best buys, but also the chance to meet and mingle with the craftspeople. The Chichen Itza complex was designated a Unesco World Heritage Site in 1988. It's an example of pre-Columbian society and Mayan civilization in the Yucatán Peninsula of Mexico.